We rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Elderkin, if you can leave the room.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our veterans. Thank you. You may be seated.
Take a roll call. Councilmember Barbara Bukowski. Here. Councilmember Monica Elderkin. Here. Councilmember Tiffany Lewis. Here. Councilmember Stephen Nowicki.
Here.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski.
Present.
Councilmember Vernon Thompson.
Here.
And Supervisor Brian Nowak.
Present. Okay. Our first order of business this evening regards a public hearing. It's local law number 9 of the year 2025, local law regarding term limits. I'll pass it over to the clerk.
Call for public hearing was made at the December 9th, 2025 Town Board meeting, Resolution 2025-830, to consider and discuss, and if need be, act upon the proposed intro to local law number 9 of 2025, titled "A Local Law Creating a Chapter to the Town Code," termed Term Limits. A brief summary is as follows. Section 33-2, legislative intent, would expand participation in the electoral process and to bring new ideas to governance. This chapter is to limit terms of offices for elected officials. 33-3 is term limits established. No elected public officer of the town of Cheektowaga shall have more than 2 consecutive terms for 4 years each. And additionally, any terms of office held prior to the November 2026 election shall not be counted for term limitation purposes.
This is a public hearing that was opened a couple meetings ago. It remains open. This evening, we have one speaker signed up from the audience. That will be Gary Borick.
So I just want to repeat my remarks for the new board, similar to what I said to the old board. I don't think we can make this law currently effective because of the even year election law rule. So I don't think it's proper for this board to be making that decision that far in the future. And certainly, even if we could overcome that problem, even if we're possible to overcome that problem, I think the timing on this is terrible. We shouldn't be doing it in the last 2 weeks of December. I think you should remove this proposal from the board, put it up again if you want to do it, in February, so you have March and April to have public hearings, get it done before the August deadline for getting it on the election if you want to do that. But certainly, I think there's just terrible timing on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would wish to speak on the public hearing on term limits this evening? Going once, going twice. We'll throw it to the town board. Any members of the town board would like to speak on this item? I know a few of you have had an opportunity already. With that, I would like to keep this open for one more meeting to allow folks to say their piece at our January 13th meeting of the town board. I don't know the pleasure of everyone up here, but if that's the will of the board, I would recommend that we leave the public hearing open. Okay, thank you all. Our next order of business, yes.
I want to make a motion to have a consent agenda. I know it's not in the way it's written on the presented to us here, but so I would like to make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? There's a second from Councilmember Lewis. All right, all in favor of operating under consent agenda, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I would like to, I spoke to Councilmember Thompson right before the meeting began. We don't have public comment on the agenda this evening. I'd like to make a motion to add public comment both prior to the resolutions and at the end of the meeting as we do in a traditional meeting. Is there a second on that? Second from Mr. Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That also carries. So with that, our next order of business would be public comment period. And this is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters involving the town of Cheektowaga. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. We have sign-up sheets right here at the front if anybody would like to sign up and speak. Otherwise, there will be another opportunity at the end of the town board meeting, and you can sign up to speak at that time if you so choose. All right. So I'm going to give everybody a moment to sign up for public comment. All right, this evening we have two speakers up for public comment. First is Sandy Prisblack.
Good evening and welcome new board members. I keep forgetting I'm short. I have to pull this down. I have two resolutions I want to comment on. Resolution 2, I wouldn't mind knowing why we are now adding back in a deputy superintendent of highways. Is the highway department such that it needs more help? Why that we're bringing that back in. So that's my first comment. And Resolution 2026-13, accept the resignation to Conservation Advisory Council member, Stephen Nowicki. I know you have to do it because it's procedural, but as chair of the board, I just want to comment that it's a very small board. And now it's probably going to be me and Barb attending the meetings unless Stephen wants to continue to attend ex officiato. Anyway, this board is very small. While some might think what we do is not important, but we do ensure that landscaping and trees especially are maintained or increased for any construction projects in the town, both new construction and redevelopment. And we could use some more members if anyone wants to. We meet on the second Wednesday of the month here in council chambers. Come visit. Our next meeting is next week, Thursday, and next week, Wednesday. I'm sorry, I misspoke. And if anyone from the public would like to come and just see what we do, I would welcome any new folks to come join us. Thank you.
Our other speaker this evening is Jessica Greenwald.
Good evening, Supervisor and members of the Cheektowaga Town Board. First off, I want to congratulate the new board members. I'm genuinely excited that the voters have chosen to flip the majority back to those who prioritize democratic values and community-focused governance. I'm here today to address an issue of critical importance that directly impacts our town's safety, legal liability, and moral standing, which is the Cheektowaga Police Department's extensive and disproportionate assistance to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE. My core message is threefold. I urge you to re-examine the Cheektowaga Police Department's Policy 414 on immigration violations. I ask you to immediately suspend non-mandated cooperation with ICE, and I call for a new policy that aligns with the principles of the proposed New York for All and the Protecting Our Neighbors, or otherwise known as MELT Act. As a resident of Cheektowaga for nearly my entire life, I was deeply disturbed by the findings published last month by the Investigative Post. Their data showed that our Cheektowaga Police Department has assisted ICE in arrests more than any other local department, so much so that it accounts for 2/3 of all of the arrests in which local police forces have assisted. The data further clarifies the true nature of this activity. 83% of the people arrested were cited for immigration violations, which is a civil violation and not a crime. It's on par with a parking ticket, and these people have no other prior criminal history. And that aligns with research, including findings from Stanford University that immigrants commit crimes at a much lower rate than US-born citizens. They're about 60% less likely. Colluding with ICE doesn't make our community safer. It tears apart families, and it instills fear in our neighbors. The Police Policy 414 states that they may detain people who CPD has a reasonable suspicion as a person who has entered the U.S. in violation of federal law. However, we are seeing low-level allegations lead to life-altering changes for these people, and citizens are getting swept up in the process. Beyond the moral concerns, continued cooperation with ICE poses a significant fiscal risk to our taxpayers and our community. In 2018, the New York State Appellate Court ruled that local police departments cannot detain individuals solely for immigration offenses, including holding a person longer than necessary for immigration agents or Customs and Border Patrol to arrive. We are opening the town up to substantial lawsuits, and we just saw one in Suffolk County where they had to pay $112 million to people whose rights were infringed upon by illegal detentions. So New York Focus released an article in late November alleging that CPD did just this at the Galleria Mall, detaining a man while waiting for Border Patrol to arrive. And I don't want my tax dollars going to that. I think that the police should just follow the law. Cheektowaga has no legal partnership with ICE, and ICE's budget for the fiscal year of 2026 is an estimated $11 billion, with a B, dollars. We don't need to use our town's limited resources meant for local crime and safety, to subsidize a massive federal agency like that. Conversely, immigrants are vital contributors to our economy. According to the American Immigration Council, New York's 26th congressional district receives $498.7 million in taxes from immigrants, and they also add $1.1 billion in buying power to our community. So these people are valuable members of our society, and I think it's high time that we treat them like that. As a taxpayer, a mother...
Not to cut you off. That is 3 minutes. Does the board wish to extend it?
And 1 minute.
Second.
Thank you. As a taxpayer, a mother, a concerned granddaughter of immigrants, I'm appalled to read reports about the police force being present while ICE deployed tear gas and used force against immigrants in our own community. The practice of collaboration is not only inhumane, but it's un-American, and it creates an environment where members of our community can be targeted based on their skin color or the language that they speak, which risks the constitutional rights of everybody in our community. We know that this is wrong, and we can't stand by while families are being torn apart. I refuse to turn my back on my neighbors, and I urge the new town board to lead with your values and take immediate action to suspend current non-mandated ICE cooperation and to implement a policy that protects all of the members of our Cheektowaga community. Thank you.
Gary, I'll put you down.
Can I do that too, Brian?
Dawn, Happy New Year, Dawn.
Happy New Year. Sorry.
Okay, the floor is yours.
I agree with much of what was said except this. I don't have any problem with the Cheektowaga Police cooperating with ICE or Border Patrol when there is a criminal warrant for the person. I think if they call and Border Patrol says, yes, we have a criminal warrant, I think our police should hold that person until they arrive. But they seldom have a criminal warrant, and that was the problem in Suffolk County. Suffolk County was holding and detaining people for Border Patrol and ICE to arrive without criminal warrants, 365 of them. And the jury awarded $112 million. That's our budget. We can't afford that. Our police department, when they make that call, if they're not told there's a criminal warrant, that should be the end of it. They should not get us involved as taxpayers and exposure to that kind of a lawsuit. But if there is a criminal warrant, I think they should hold them. They should cooperate to the extent that if there's a criminal warrant for them, fine. But other than that, no, they should not be. Thank you.
Okay, Happy New Year, everybody. All right, I have a couple of things on the agenda for today. Mr. Bowen, do you happen to know how many sewer connections are done in a year?
No, I don't have that information.
Okay, and Mr. Nowicki, do you happen to know how much each sewer connection costs?
I know we're redoing the fee schedule for that within this agenda, so it's changing. I want to say the number was
No.
$500.
No, it is the fee that the town pays to the contractor because our sewer department does not do the connections. So roughly, there's probably 100 sewer connections in a year that the town is currently doing at $4,500 to $5,000 each connection. So where is this $500,000 coming from, I guess is my question. I doubt you have that answer, but it's something you ought to think about. Other things. The abolishment of the deputy highway superintendent has been done, and now you wish to reverse that. I didn't see any anything in the agenda that said you were going to pay for it or a budget amendment to do that. So you're kind of putting the horse before the cart. You want to opt out of the solar, I believe it's the solar farm resolution at number 4. I'm against that. If you want to talk about it, come see me, come see my house, come see where I live. I'd be happy to show you. Request for proposal for streetlight repair and maintenance services. This was done probably 2 years ago that they finally finalized it. I don't know, maybe sometime last year. And nobody, now I only know Brian and Brian were here at that time. Nobody thought about who that is gonna take care of fixing this stuff. And now it's a problem. We need to get your acts together here. At the last meeting of the month, we talked about putting somebody in on a board. Mr. Pilarski kindly said that there was no interviews done. I see there are currently 3 on here. That's pretty hypocritical, the hypocrisy that you didn't have interviews for those people. If you did, please give everybody else their resumes so that they can see before you do that. But it's more of the same old stuff. There are 90,000 people in this town, and I did not see one posting for that. 90,000 people, somebody might have wanted to put in for that. You might have had to interview 2, 3, 4, 5 people. And that's the right thing to do because new people have new ideas. Obviously, 3 of you are up here. Designation of the highway engineer. I don't have any ill will towards Mr. Crystal, who this is geared towards, but he is not a professional engineer. Is there going to be some kind of liability for the town of Cheektowaga? If he's in that position, I think you ought to find out that answer. The appointment of Mr. Fedorovich, money was taken out of the 25 budget, maybe the 24, the 25 and the 26 budget. So you're again putting the cart before the horse. I got nothing against this kid. Nothing against anybody. Where's the money coming from? Do a budget amendment and do it the right way. And furthermore, to date it back to 25 when he was actually put in seems unethical to me and potentially illegal because you did not have the money. It's not the residents' fault that the money was put in extra because I don't know how Mr. Kraus does the budgeting or Mr. Nowak, how you did the budgeting. But if you didn't take every single employee, add their 3.25%, then how can you do that? And the last one,
Can I make a motion to extend for 1 minute?
I
I'll
don't even
second.
need that long, thank you. And the last thing I have is the part-time wage adjustments. That individual, I believe, was just given a pay raise. And if you were to look at the prevailing wage for New York State, if we were to hire somebody as a cleaner, the wage effective January 1st, 26, is $16.50 an hour. Yeah, you want to pay somebody $20. 2 years ago, she got a raise. This year, she got a raise. How much, when does it stop? When do we say the residents come first? Again, I have nothing against this person. But when do residents come first? Thanks.
Thank you, Dawn. Right? Anyone else wish to speak? Right. With that, we'll move on to items from the table. Oh. Oh, I'm being told we'll move on to the consent agenda first, and then we'll get to the tabled item. Okay? So the consent agenda is contained in this meeting. The consent agenda is designed to assist making the meeting shorter and more efficient. Items left on the consent agenda may not be discussed when the consent agenda comes before the town board. If any council member wishes to discuss a consent agenda item, please tell me now and I will remove the item from the consent agenda and it will be added as a separate resolution item. So far, I have 3 items, number 1, number 5, and number 13. Are there any others?
A few.
Okay.
Already have one. Do 2026-2, 3, 4, 2026-9, 2026-14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 2026-20.
Okay. Yeah, that, Madam Clerk? This is what I got. 1, 2, 3, 14 or 13, 14. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20. Did you want 19 out? 18 and 20? Okay, that's.
Motion and a second to approve the items on, well, actually, we need a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda as it is set. Do I have a motion?
Just one last time from council members. Are there any other items you would like pulled? Okay. Seeing none, hearing none. I'll make the motion, Madam Clerk.
I'll second.
All in favor of the meeting agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You have an item from the table that we are going to go over first. Is there a motion and a second to move Resolution 2025-835 to the table for consideration? If there is no motion, it will fall off at the next meeting. We have a consent agenda in place. I need a motion and a second to approve all items on the consent agenda, including the meeting minutes of December 30th, 2025, and resolution items 2026 1 through 20. We will recognize the items that were removed are items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 20. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion by the supervisor, seconded by Councilmember Bukowski. I need a roll call vote to approve the rest of the meeting items. Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Elderkin?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Supervisor Nowak?
Yes.
On the consent agenda have been approved. We're going to move to our resolution item. We are starting with Resolution 2026-1. It is sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Nowicki. On October 14th, 2025, this town board adopted a resolution, Resolution 2025-628, entitled Adopt Local Law 3 of 2025, a local law to amend the sewer law of the town of Cheektowaga. It is necessary to rescind said resolution. The aforementioned resolution dated October 14th, 2025, being hereby is rescinded in its entirety.
On the question?
Mr. Supervisor, if I may, I just want to make sure you guys are all clear. Rescinding the resolution from 2025 does not necessarily take you back to the law that resolution changed. So my opinion is that rescinding that resolution right now will have zero effect, technically speaking, because you need to do, and I see that you've already planned for that, I think it's a third resolution. You got to call for a public hearing. You need to have the public hearing and run through that process before you, I just don't want you to think that rescinding a resolution will change the local law. It technically should have zero effect.
When it comes to a local law.
When it comes to the effectiveness of the law currently in effect, yes.
All in favor?
I'd like
Oh,
to,
sorry. It's,
Call vote.
oh, wait. Councilmember was looking to be recognized.
make a motion to table.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
second?
I'll
Okay.
second.
Sorry, who was the second?
Bukowski.
Councilmember Bukowski, thank you. Resolution 1 has been tabled. Resolution 2026-2, sponsored by Councilmember Pilarski, seconded by Supervisor Nowak. By resolution dated December 12th, 2023, Resolution 2023-681, that the position of Deputy Superintendent of Highways shall be abolished at the close of business on December 31st, 2023. After further review by the Town Board and the Superintendent of Highways, there is a need to rescind this resolution. This Town Board hereby rescinds the aforementioned resolution.
On the question?
I'd like to speak on this, if I could. And maybe Mr. Crystal, I don't want to put him on the spot. I was under the impression that you were not interested in that position and taking over duties, and especially if they're looking to, have the highways deputy and then also the engineer. I know that's a little bit further, but they all kind of work hand in hand. I don't know if anybody can speak to that at all or how that transpired.
Yeah, I could speak to this resolution. I was on the board a couple years ago, and one of the folks that voted in favor of doing this. I've seen over the past 2 years the issues we've had without having this part of the chain of command. We've talked to, the example was brought up to the police department of maybe we should have an assistant chief. We're making a system of 4 captains working out there. In other departments, we have deputies. In other departments, we have working crew chiefs where there's a general crew chief. There needs to be, into my mind, somebody to fill in that middle gap. And I think it could be a situation where we have somebody picking up these duties at no extra cost to the town as long as we're able to negotiate that well. That was something I worked with the TCSU to get worked into their most recent contract. That piece was negotiated out, and it didn't work out in that case. What I'm looking to accomplish with this, because this is a resolution that I filed, what I'm looking to accomplish with this is just to reestablish the title. And if an individual is appointed there to take on some of those duties, that provides a little relief to the highway superintendent. You will note that it doesn't include a salary or a stipend or anything like that right now. Councilman Pilarski and I talked about it. I won't steal your thunder on that, but that's part of the reason why. This is a process where we're going to have discussions about exactly who takes on duties. Is it possible for the TCSU to possibly take on those duties again? Would it be an entirely different individual? Is there an appetite from the board to give a stipend to a person? I can tell you, even I struggle with the idea of hiring another person at a full-time salary with benefits and getting into the pension system and all that. But this is just a first step to address the issue of a chain of command in the highway department. We've talked about some of the challenges highway has had in my time as supervisor, and I'm looking to fix that.
I was one of the ones who spearheaded this abolishment of this position. And not that they, died or anything. They didn't have any big issues in highway that was like super pressing, but there was times to have a second in command there. There's going to be times where the highway superintendent's on vacation, he's away, sick, whatever, can't make it. There needs to be a second in command. And like the supervisor said, we had it worked in with the last TCSU CBA agreement, almost at that finish line, to where they would have one of their, foremen be appointed, kind of rotating duties and job descriptions. That's my mindset on this. Absolutely. I do not support a full-time position. I will never support it. I don't see why we would need to pay $60,000 plus and benefits and all that. That's the reason why I cut it. That's a cost savings right there. So that is not the intent of that. I said it 2 years ago. That's why I cut the position and said, hey, we don't need to pay somebody all that money. I'll say it again right here. We don't need to pay somebody all that money. That's why there is no salaries tied to it. It just allows for the appointment. I see it as no different than deputy supervisor here. There's no pay attached to it. There's no extra. If we could talk that with the TCSU and negotiate that back in and say, hey, you guys were willing to before. I hope you're, reconsider and willing to again. That is our hopes of it all. But we'll cross that bridge, if they counter or anything like that, we'll talk as a board. But as of right now, there's no cost to it for a reason, because we don't want to pay for that position. It's just to give somebody the authority to act, while the highway superintendent's gone.
Like putting it back into the inventory per se? Is that
Putting the title back into the inventory.
Correct.
And just to be clear, that title could be filled by an individual, but it would have no pay package with it. It would have no stipend. It would have no salary at this time. That would require a subsequent resolution to do anything like that.
So right now, if the highway superintendent isn't there, who would take on those duties now, and who would sign paychecks, or who's been doing that? Does anybody?
That is a
know?
good question.
Rick.
What's that?
The guy that didn't go on vacation because he didn't have a deputy.
I don't understand what you're saying.
How about that? He said I did.
All right.
I couldn't leave.
I could not leave because I did not have a deputy.
Have you worked
Okay.
the last 365 days straight? Is what you're saying?
Damn near. The big thing is, the big thing is highway law says in the book that I have a highway deputy. It doesn't have to be funded. That's what it says in the book. You don't have to fund it. But according to the state law, I have a deputy for my department.
You're foreman right now. There's nobody that steps in when you're not there.
No.
and why not? I mean, you have a chain of command in there. Why can't that?
We took that out with
happen?
the deputy. You took,
I'm on your side.
okay.
I'm happy with that.
Yep.
How ridiculous can it be?
I ask, can the audience please remain quiet?
This has been going on for 2 years. It's a pain. It costs us money every day for our undergrounds we can't catch up on. Our foremans are busy taking care of their crews. I need them running around town looking for a sewer line, looking for a drain line. running through the maps. It's time consuming. That's what the deputy did. He made sure all those were done.
So are we looking to hire somebody in addition then? From what it sounds like? Or is that the intent?
Well, no, again, this
Right
is,
now,
this is a
we're just
resolution.
trying to establish the position. We're not asking for money. We're nothing. The position, according to highway law, is supposed to be there. It was illegal for you to take it away. That's all it is, to put this back to where it's supposed to be. Then we can work from there. If there's a way we can put somebody in, who's going to do it? Until we get that position, we're not going to know.
And of course, the funding, where that's going to come from.
We didn't need to talk about funding.
Oh, we're going to have to. I mean, I don't
Possibly.
think anybody's going to do it for free.
Not necessarily. I mean, Reverend Rick served as deputy supervisor. What was the cost of that?
I think that's a little bit different.
Not any
Yeah.
different.
Respectfully.
No, it
If
is.
something were to happen to the supervisor, Reverend Rick was the next in command. No different than actually right now. If something were to happen to the supervisor, the deputy supervisor steps in. There's no extra pay or anything. It is the hopes that we could sit down, renegotiate, retalk with the TCSU, because this actually was worked into their CBA agreement. They offered to do it for free. Whether or not they want to do it for free again and revisit it, I don't know how they're rubbed, from the last thing that went down, or maybe they see, hey, things are going to be different, and we're willing to do it. We don't know that. We haven't had those conversations yet. But putting it back onto the roll here, as you can tell by the resolution, there's no dollar amount assigned to it. And that's for a reason, because there's no money for it. It's not in the budget. It's not there. It won't be there for the next year. I mean, we still have this budget mess to look at and visit. So putting a full-time, even a part-time at 30, to me, it's not there. And we need to think of some other way to do it. Other ways to compensate, maybe, I don't know that, but that's where we start discussing on, if we can't find somebody who's willing to do it, how do we attract them? But we're not there yet.
Well, we should probably have this conversation then with the union before doing this, correct?
Negative. Let's get this in first and then have the
This
conversation.
is-
This
this isn't
isn't
a
here.
union
We're in
issue.
the same boat where they say yes and this board doesn't move on anything. Then they say, to hell with it, we're sick of your games, we're out. That's what happened last time.
It's a chicken or egg question. I think having a conversation saying, hey, we've reestablished the title of Deputy Highway Superintendent. Now we need to figure out how that works. It starts with us. And then we go to other folks to say, can we get this taken on with your group? Maybe we can try this way. Maybe we can try that way. And we could go out and talk to folks, whether it's the TCSU or some other possibilities of how to fill this, and say, would you be willing to do it? I think if we're talking about something concrete, saying that the title is here, to me, this is the starting point to push that discussion to say, now the title's back at the inventory. A person could be appointed to it. They get appointed at a salary of $0. The highway superintendent, as I understand the law, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, could appoint somebody to this title once it's done within 5 days, right?
Good.
But there is no salary associated with it, right? Not as I read it, and not as, and if approved, not as the board intends. So, but this gets a start toward having a name filling this title, that if Rick says, I won't be around for a couple of days, somebody can take on some of those duties like the payroll and that. I think that the position should be a little bit more, and that's why I want to have more discussions. But the first step here, to my mind, is to get the title back in the inventory and talk about what exactly it looks like.
Well, we've had discussions on this previously, and we did talk about the foreman being able to take over those duties, because there was a time period when you're sick. I understand you need coverage, and we did have those discussions here. A little bit different board, but what it was is your foreman who can sign checks and do have the ability to do these things while you're gone. Because I understand it's important to have time off, but if we were able to do that with the current foreman that you had, they would receive a stipend or whatever it may be, to instead of hiring somebody different, because it comes down to the money. You didn't want to do it before because we were paying, X amount of dollars. And I get that. You're looking for savings. But if there's somebody who's there now that can do that, I mean, are you talking every week you're going to take 3 days off? I'm sure that's not the case. No. So it's not, what is this person going to be doing the other 5-6 days of the week?
They need to be doing underground with us. It's something that we get fined on. It would cover the cost of that, because it's not getting covered, because we don't have the manpower. I mean, simple as that. I mean, we're asking for the position right now. That's it. then we'll go on with that and we can work something out to get somebody in that position. If it's not paid, part-time, something. But it's a position that needs to be taken care of. According to the state law, and that's what we got to go by, the position's supposed to be there. Doesn't have to be funded, but let's get to where we're running legal and we have that on the books. That's all it is.
It's also not under the town board's purview to micromanage the independently elected highway superintendent.
Well, it is to manage the funding
The
of it.
funding.
Correct.
Yep.
0.
Yeah. Yeah. I was elected to do this job. When I took the job on, when I ran for the position, there was a deputy. There was a secretary. There was all kinds of things in there that all disappeared. Stipend disappeared. Everything disappeared. Politics. I understand. But it's the way it is.
It says, yeah.
Did I quit? No. I kept it up. We got our job done. We worked without money. We took care of a lot of things this summer. We got postponed, pushed back. We got a project started late, and we actually accomplished it, finished it, and got a good job out of it. So that's where we're at because we work hard in what we do. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from council members?
Rick forgot to mention that job was also done under budget.
Any other comments from council members? All right. All in favor?
Call a roll call vote.
Okay.
We have a roll call vote on Resolution 2026-2. Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Elderkin?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis? Councilmember Nowicki?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
No.
Supervisor Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Bukowski?
No.
Resolution is approved. We move on to Resolution 2026-3, sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Nowicki. Pursuant to the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York, a public hearing will be held before the Town Board of the Town of Cheektowaga on the 13th day of January 2026 at 5:30 p.m. at the Town Hall to discuss and, if need be, act upon the proposed enactment of local law intro number 1 of year 2026 entitled A Local Law to Amend the Town Sewer Law.
This goes along with resolution number 1. I'd like to roll call vote on the item.
Roll call vote on 2026-3. Councilmember Bukowski?
Goes along with.
Yeah, there was a resolution that called for rescinding the adopted law 3 of 2025.
Oh,
Yeah, it was just
right, you
tabled.
tabled that.
So I was asking for a roll call vote on this resolution, considering we discussed it already, the issue already. So,
Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Elderkin?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
No.
Supervisor Nowak?
yes.
Motion is carried to hold a public hearing. Resolution 2026-4, sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Nowicki. A public hearing will be held before the Town Board of the Town of Cheektowaga on the 13th day of January 2026 at 5:30 p.m. Cheektowaga Town Hall to consider, discuss, and if need be, act upon the repeal of the existing code section titled Article 10 Opt-out Exemption for Certain Energy Systems. That would be Section 220-42, 220-43, and 220-44 of the Town Taxation Law.
Right, on the question, this is an item that simply calls for a public hearing. It has to do with a tax exemption, as I understand it, hasn't been taken advantage of here in Cheektowaga. And for that reason, I don't think it is I think of it as an item, let me say it affirmatively, that If certain individuals in an isolated basis want to take advantage of it to help expand renewable energy, I think having this type of, I think the current code or the current tax law disincentivizes renewable energy. My hope is that we have something on the books in certain isolated cases. If people want to take advantage of that and it incentivizes more renewable energy, I'd like to see that, and that's the reason this resolution is here. Any other comments from council members? Okay. With that, I'd like to call for a roll call vote.
Roll call vote on Resolution 2026-4. Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Elderkin?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis? Councilmember Nowicki?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Member Thompson?
No.
Supervisor Nowak?
Yes.
Resolution 2026-5, sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. Town of Cheektowaga owns and maintains the majority of approximately 8,900 streetlights within the town, and these assets require ongoing repair, maintenance, and operational support to ensure public safety and reliable illumination. Town Board recognizes the importance of establishing a qualified licensed electrical contractor to provide timely and cost-effective streetlight repair, maintenance, troubleshooting, pole replacement, and related services. This town board hereby authorizes and issues the attached RFP for streetlight repair and maintenance services for the town of Cheektowaga. That will be received by February 12th at 11 o'clock at Cheektowaga Town Hall.
On the question, this is an item, the attached RFP needs some minor adjustments to it. I would like to see the item pulled as the mover. I'd like to ask the second to consider same.
I agree.
Resolution is pulled. Resolution 2026-9, sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. Resolution 2025-118, establish town board meeting procedures. The town board of the town of Cheektowaga seeks to amend and update the established procedures. This resolution shall set town board procedures, and it shall supersede any previous resolutions on the town board procedures in matters of which it references above, including but not limiting to item number 3 from April 18th, 1994, Resolution 2025-64, and Resolution 2025-118.
We're on resolution 9, right? I just want to make sure that we left 8 in the agenda. Okay. So this is an item that I had filed. No, 8 was not supposed to be pulled. I just wanted to confirm abundance of caution. So just making sure. All right. This is an item that I filed that is much like the rules of procedure most recently adopted by the town board. There was a version of this adopted last year. There are 2 big changes. One of them is minor, and one of them is what I suppose is the point of discussion this evening. The first would be the deadline for resolutions. In the past, we had a deadline that resolutions had to be filed near the end of business. This moves that deadline up to noon. It gives the clerk's office an opportunity after the deadline to finalize the agenda, format the agenda, and get that out in a timely format for the public before the end of business on that Wednesday. So we keep the same day of the week. We actually move that deadline up a few hours, and this actually increases the ability for the public to see the resolutions that get filed in a timely manner. The other major change has to do with section, which you'll see as section D on page 2 of the text. This is the suspension of rules. So there's a proposal for a new process on how to deal with suspension of rules. In my time as a board member, as a councilman and now a supervisor, we've had a de facto process, like a practice of suspension of rules, but we didn't have anything really in writing of exactly how that worked. And depending on the year or the flavor of the week and all that, things changed on how that operated. And this is just an effort to get something in writing that increases communication. I'd argue it increases transparency, and it preserves the power of the majority of the board and it preserves minority rights of town board members. So I want to read it out and explain how I see how this works. So it says, suspension of rules items. Any town board resolution not filed by noon on the Wednesday prior to a board meeting is considered a late file. That's traditionally been our practice. After the deadline, it's a late file. In order to facilitate a more orderly and transparent meeting agenda, the following is the procedure to add items to suspension of rules prior to and during a town board meeting. Resolution should be submitted to town clerk, town attorney, and town supervisor for consideration. Clerk notifies the full town board of the proposed waiver item submitted for consideration. The resolution in question must receive written approval from the town supervisor to be added to the agenda. Supervisor has 24 hours after being notified to act. Any item that is not either approved or denied addition to the agenda after 24 hours is presumed as approved for addition to the meeting. So basically, you get a waiver item. It goes over to the chair of the meeting. Are we going to add this to the agenda or not? If it's thumbs up, it's on. If I don't answer, it's on. And if I say we're not adding that one on, it's not on under this proposal. In the event the supervisor denies an agenda item, a majority of the town board shall have the power to overrule the supervisor and add the item to the agenda by notifying the full town board in writing that the waiver item is to be added. So suppose I give thumbs down to something as the supervisor, whether it's me in this chair or Pilarski or Barb Bukowski. If 4 board members say, the supervisor's wrong, we're going to override you and put this item on the agenda anyways, that item shows up.
How will we know that that waiver's on your desk and you're denying it?
The clerk will notify the full town board.
Okay.
And that's part of the transparency process, that anytime a waiver item gets filed, the full town board is aware of the waiver item. And if I don't answer in 24 hours to the full town board a response to this, then
Okay.
then that gets to the power of the board majority.
So you want this also submitted to the town clerk, the town attorney, and yourself?
Yeah, any waiver item, that's the idea, yes, because the practice that we've had is that something will get filed late. And I'll be the first one to say that I've done this at times over 8 years, where the town attorney might not have known, or the clerk might not have known, or neither would have known. The idea is to improve communication, to say that, okay, we have a late file. It has to do with, I don't know, we'll pick on Office of Fire Safety for a second. A notice to bidders that has to get out at the last second. The clerk will know that item's been filed and she can add it to the agenda. The town attorney will know, and he'll have as much advance notice as possible to deal with any of the legal implications. And the chair of the meeting, and this is where the supervisor comes in, I'll also be aware of it so I can adjust the agenda as I'm running it up here. So that's the idea with that. And then the last point, number 4, any resolution that becomes a suspension of rules item must have a sponsor and a seconding council member. And that's essentially the idea. What remains is the right of the minority. You know, I've been on this board for a while, so I've been in a spot where I've been part of a majority caucus. I've been an army of one at one point. I've been part of a minority caucus. And individual council members should still have the right to do things. So if we suspend rules under this proposal, and 2 board members, let's say, as we did at the most recent meeting, an item was brought up under new business. Had we suspended the rules, only 2 council members under the suspension can introduce that item. This proposal still protects the right of the minority if we suspend rules to bring up a resolution like that. There is nothing here that prohibits that practice. The idea, again, is to increase transparency, to improve communication, and to have an orderly process, rules of the game that we're all operating under, because we've not had the suspension of the rules piece of our procedure down in writing. We've had to essentially rely on Robert's rules over time and getting the questions, people saying, why didn't I know about this? Shouldn't we have advanced notice, for any other things that may come up? I'm trying to deal with that here.
So if it's a resolution that you're submitting beyond the time period that's allowed, who are you getting approval from?
I am just like a board member like you. Just like Monica, just like Brian, I have to submit the resolution to the full town board. And it has to be, or the clerk, I have to submit it to the clerk, and then it gets submitted to the full town board. I am not special in that regard. So if it's a resolution that I filed, it's still, it obviously comes back to me as supervisor. That might be what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But it still has to go to the clerk, and the full town board still has to be notified.
Approval process.
What if it's something that you put forward and, we don't agree with it?
Well, what's happening under this process right now is any council member can just file an item.
So I'm saying going off of this.
That,
I'm saying going off of these proposed rules. Unless I'm missing something.
So
I get where you're going. We
This
just
gets-
voted down.
No, this gets to the existing procedure. If, let's say, you personally don't agree with it, we get to the meeting, the night of the meeting, the procedure is still in place for one vote. The right of the minority is still there to turn down the suspension of rules.
Correct, but say I wanted to submit something, I need to have written approval from you before it even goes to the opportunity to be voted on.
Well, you would just need to not have his denial. If he says nothing, it still goes through.
Guessing my point is, we have the ability to be denied, but you don't.
Me personally, as the way this procedure is written, that's the way it would operate. And I know it's a little convoluted, but
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you,
Is there an appetite to modify that language at all, or?
Technically, we do have an opportunity to deny it. I mean, it just comes down to the votes, but you're right. I see what you're saying because you're the
Yes.
one submitting and approving. I get that. I mean, I've got a question as well in regards to the timing is 24 hours, supervisor doesn't approve it. It goes on automatically. It's,
Yeah, it's the default is an item goes on unless it's,
What do
hey,
we-
it's not going
what do we
on.
do in the case of somebody, and it just clicked in my head with it all. What if somebody submits Tuesday morning for the sake of argument or late Monday night? There's not 24 hours before the meeting at 5.
Happened before, and it's
Had
something
one
we all.
submitted last week right there in the
something
middle of the
we all
meeting.
agree
Yeah.
on at
So-
times.
But so like what happens in that case? I mean, it automatically goes to the whole board no matter what. And now we agree whether or not, hey, it's on or not. So it's no different than saying, hey, there is a suspension of rules or not a suspension of rules. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Going back to your concern, the alternative to that would be if the supervisor were to introduce a resolution, would it be a more majority allowing the supervisor to put it on? Because that would create a higher bar. I'm not saying you're saying that, but is there an alternative that you can think of that would be an adequate check there? Because me thinking about it is, the idea is to increase transparency and to have a process to where we're approving things just to go down an orderly manner. I'm not thinking of a better alternative to this at the moment.
I'm sorry. Me personally, I think one thing we should add in this is a hard deadline, no matter what the heck it is. Being that Monday at 4:00, because that is 24 hours then until the actual meeting time of 5:30. It comes in Tuesday morning. And the goal is to improve transparency, but if it's not online for the public to see because it was put on Tuesday afternoon, and then there's 4 of us to say, yes, put it through, or, the supervisor agrees on it his own, that defeats the whole transparency piece. So I think there's got to be absolutely no, unless it's life and death. Other than that, it waits, because waiting 12 hours before a meeting is kind of ridiculous.
Can I comment, please? Just for a little historical purposes here. Our previous supervisor had just a verbal that was presented to all the board members, that it was said that no resolution was going on unless it came to her first. So we've had this both ways. Nothing was added to suspension rules without the approval of the supervisor. Okay? Then things changed. And really, when you look at the open meetings law and things like that, suspension of rules, yes, they are late filings, but they are really supposed to be important items, emergency items, stuff that needs to get done. It's not just supposed to be, hey, I want to introduce this and, throw it on the agenda last minute, because the public is supposed to be aware of what's being proposed. The 24 hours is something that's mentioned in open meetings law, although 24 hours still is not a lot of time. But if it's something that's an emergency or has to get done to the benefit of the town, it kind of looks at 24 hours as a time frame. But the board has gone back and forth on this multiple times. As far as a lot of times, a resolution would come up last minute, as it did at the last meeting, where nobody knew about it and didn't even have time to know that it was coming, let alone that it was being presented. So if the resolution is at least provided to myself, the attorney, and the supervisor, at least there is notification. I would be sending it out to the board. You would at least know that it is an option, that it might show up on the agenda, and that would give you some time to do some due diligence and ask some questions prior to the meeting. Now, that's only a little historical piece there, and just whatever you do with it is up to you guys. You are the town board. I'm just trying to show you that it's gone both ways in previous years.
And this is a way to find a happy medium on this. And I mean, under the process right now, I mean, I could, any one of us can submit a resolution. If it's approved, one person can deny that suspension. So the right of the minority is still in place through this entire process, that if items are added to suspension and somebody says, I dislike this so much, or I have such a big problem with it that I don't even want there to be a vote, that power remains with any individual board member. And we've seen it exercised up here over the years.
I think I would prefer that instead of, I'm just not a fan of receiving written approval. And that's just my, opinion for a potential suspension of rules, because you still have the ability to vote it down, to not have it come to a vote by any one person. That's my thought. I don't know if anybody agrees or disagrees or has comment on that. I'm just trying to understand the thought behind getting written approval for something that can easily be voted down by anyone.
Again, it's still not written approval. It's just
that's what it says.
Denial. Like, yes, it's the options are him to approve it or him to just do nothing. The office of supervisor to either approve it or do nothing. Those are both affirmatives where it gets on there. The only thing that this would do is give him the ability to have it not go through. And again, in cases of emergency, that's what we should be using these for. So that's the only thing we should be considering under suspension of rules. And we can either grenade the suspension of rules by one person not approving it, or having the 2/3 majority overriding the supervisor's thought on it.
Sorry, it'd be a simple majority.
Was it simple majority? Okay, I'm sorry.
So the idea that there's an override process. We need 4 votes to pass anything under suspension of rules, correct? There's an override process. So we can introduce a resolution, and then that resolution wouldn't get acted on at the meeting anyways. Any 2 board members can still introduce an item under regular order, and that has to remain. That has to remain the same. But the process, in essence, the idea of this is to keep the agenda predictable, orderly, and transparent for the sake of all of us, for the public, and everybody else involved. So yeah, there's this process to where a resolution theoretically couldn't get approved, but if there are 4 votes to override the chair of the meeting to say whether or not it'll be added as a suspension item, if those 4 votes are there to override me, those 4 votes will also be there to pass the resolution.
Yeah, I don't think that's the question at all. And even still having 24 hours, I just feel that for anybody up here, we shouldn't have to get written approval to submit a resolution, whether it's on suspension of rules or not, because any one person up here can vote that down. I don't know if people don't understand that or not, but.
Can I, sorry.
Please.
I think it would be a fair point that the office of the supervisor can say, this is not an emergency. If we're trying to provide more transparency and limit the additions at the last minute, that the office of the supervisor can say, this can wait to next meeting. It's not saying we're not going to vote on it. We have to wait 2 weeks to vote on it. And then if 4 people on the board say, Supervisor, you're wrong, this is an emergency, we need to vote on this right away, that's the process.
I don't have much to say about this because, I mean, obviously I don't have the support to change this. That's my feeling on it. That's my opinion. I don't think we should have to receive written approval. I do agree with the 24 hours or even make it 48 hours beforehand. That's fine. I just don't like the written aspect for getting an approval. But that's all I have to say on it.
That, I'd like to call a question.
And should we make an amendment for 24 hours if that's something that we?
Yeah, I make a motion to make an amendment under number 5 on section D, just to say hard deadline. No resolutions will be accepted 24 hours prior to the start of a board meeting.
I'll second that.
So how would that read, Brian? No resolutions accepted 24 hours.
Prior to the start of the board meeting.
I just add, I don't know how you care to categorize it, and I'm not exactly sure on short notice how to word this. There will be times when you need to do something that comes up on Monday night when the refrigeration at the rink goes down and we have to authorize an expenditure. There's going to be something. I would just caution you to be careful in your words so that you don't make it so that you cannot, by your own rules, have an emergency consideration of a resolution for something that comes up in the 23rd or fewer number of hours before the next meeting.
So how would that be any different though? Let's say that emergency happened on Wednesday then, after the Tuesday board meeting, just a matter of calling to make sure there's 4 members to support it. Couldn't that be treated the same way if it was a real emergency? This is just blank. I get that, who categorizes it as an emergency, who defines it as that? Well, that's us. So it would be no different than if this emergency happened on Wednesday after our Tuesday board meeting. Just make sure, hey, I need 4 members to give me the green light and we'll approve it next meeting as long as you have that verbal. That's the way I'm visioning it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll
There is an amendment on the table. Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second.
Councilmember Lewis? Excuse me.
House Elderkin.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment is carried. Resolution 2026-9, including, we added number 5 under B. Voting on the resolution as amended, 2026-9. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 2026-13, sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. Stephen Nowicki was appointed to the Cheektowaga Conservation Advisory Council, or the CCAC, a term that expired October 15th, 2026, will be expiring October 15th, 2026. Stephen Nowicki was elected to the office of Cheektowaga Councilman, beginning his term of office on January 1st, 2026. Stephen Nowicki has resigned from the CCAC effective December 31st, 2025.
On the question?
I'd just like to speak since it's about me. I don't think it really makes a difference, but just for procedural reasons, I just want to abstain from this just so there's no chance of impropriety on anything. That's all.
Call vote.
Roll call vote on Resolution 13. Councilmember Bukowski?
Yes.
Councilmember Elderkin?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson?
Yes.
Supervisor Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Nowicki abstained. Resolution 2026-14, sponsored by Councilmember Pilarski, seconded by Councilmember Nowak. Philip Martino Jr. of Chickawaga, New York, being and hereby is reappointed to the position of member of the Chickawaga Public Library effective January 1st, 2026, and terminating on December 31st, 2030.
Right, on the question?
I'll speak on the question. So the next couple, we're getting into our appointments and everything. And I know the question was, well, Pilarski questioned last meeting, about not interviewing and everything. And absolutely right, I did. But these are positions, so I never sat up here, so we had to interview every single person we hire or bring on. We'd be here all day. That'd be a full-time job in itself. Every single person town hired, labor, all that full-time, board seats, stuff like this stuff. I mean, Vern texted me the other day about a name and somebody for the Board of Ethics. I'm like, sure, I got no issues with it. Matter of fact, I think my exact words were, we need to put three-letter word in seats. We got a lot of boards to fill. And we need to present that straight across the board and look at all these vacancies because, obviously we just lost a seat right now for someone and we heard Sandy say it's like a team of one right now, I think, or maybe two. So these board positions, like laborers and all that, not to dismiss them or, play them down or anything. When I say we should interview people, I'm talking general crew chiefs, department heads, directors, key positions for this town. Stuff like boards, I'll back up anybody on this board and say, hey, if that's the name you want on it, I'm a yes on it. So you come to me, and I did that the other day, when Vern reached out and said, hey, what do you think about this person? I go, no problem. You pick them, I'm good. So that's my stance on it.
You good?
So I guess it's a good time to have this discussion across the entire board. Are there going to be positions that we would collectively like to interview? Where do we draw that line? Because, I'm the first person to tell you, I don't want to be arguing about this in 4 months from now and say, hey, well, you said, this position, not that position. I'd like to at least have some dialogue about it because I do think planning and zoning boards, those are very important positions that should be interviewed. So I'm open to have conversation about that now.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I'm not, like I said, I'm not dismissing, the
That wasn't a
boards.
shot.
No, absolutely. I know it wasn't, but they're important to you. They're as important enough to interview. So I respect that and I get it. And if the majority, if the will of the board is to interview every board position and all that stuff, sure, I'm game with it all. But for me, like I said, the titles I rattled off are department heads, key, the tops of each one to interview those. Those are important to me. Secondary would be those positions and stuff, but it's at the will of this whole board.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I believe that some boards come with a stipend, so could we use that as a line? Anything that comes with a stipend, we interview?
Anybody getting paid? I like that.
I'd say hypothetically, to tie both Republican and Democrat hands, set a policy going forward where, people in like foreman leadership type positions and board members who have a salary, say like those positions we interview for or have a standing policy to interview for, and other positions where we can do that if we choose to do so, but it's not an automatic requirement. Would that, thoughts on that?
So you're saying to like memorialize it and make it official?
We played this game how many times? Just to make it so nobody has a say in the matter. It's written on black and white.
Like Vern said, we don't want to revisit this in 4 months.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I definitely like Monica's idea. Hey, if it's tied to a stipend, then yes, it's an interview. If it's a department head or crew, top position there, it's an interview. The rest of them are done by the department heads, who are in their departments, and the other ones, maybe it's the chairs of that, that board or whatever. So I would definitely think we should memorialize it and put it in a resolution and make it official because we could be facing this in 4 months. And I sure as heck don't want to be sitting up here and saying, hey, because, Vern put it up, Pilarski saying no, which that's not going to be the case, so let's make it official.
I have to double check the budget. Is it just the chairs of the planning zoning that get paid?
Well, there's bingo inspectors, but I think we eliminated those, right? Those
members of planning, members of zoning get paid. The secretary of the traffic safety committee gets paid. Public library board is not a paid position. CCAC is not a paid position.
There's a handful that are paid ones, not too many.
So I would just like to add that it's important that we do have transparency when we're asking who would like to join these boards. So if we can put something in where there's something that's posted, I think I would like that as well.
We've had discussions about that previously too, about posting on our Facebook pages, trying to get it out as much as we can. And I mean, even driving by Town Park, you'll see, you know, oh, this position's open or hiring, and you see it when you're driving 35 miles an hour and nobody's really catch. So it's really hard to, you don't get a lot of people for these positions. So if there's other ideas to get the word out there.
Right, we've had positions posted on social media previously for boards, and, you know, it's yielded us an applicant or two. You know, we've got a couple for the Board of Ethics, but these are applicants that may have heard about it otherwise, but still, we did get applicants when we advertised.
And if there are applicants and interest letters that come maybe just to you, Supervisor, it should be, those letters and resumes or whatever should be given across the board so that we all know who these people are and if they're in, and who they are and what kind of interest that they have.
This is a case where that town board email will become useful. Instead of sending them to the supervisor, don't even send it to me, send it to the town board email address. So that way we're all getting them. But in Martino's case here, he was recommended by the chair of the library board. So he is currently serving. So with that,
Appointment.
what's everybody's thoughts on this? I'd like to call the vote unless there's any other comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries.
Resolution 2026-14 is carried. Resolution 2026-15, sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. The term of Ruth Kasachi as member of the Planning Board expires as of December 31st, 2025. Nick Zielinski of Cheektowaga being hereby is appointed to the position of member of the Planning Board effective January 1st, 2026, and terminating on December 31st, 2030.
Question?
Yes, please.
All right, Councilman Thompson.
So I did ask you about this last week, Supervisor. So member of the planning board, you and I actually did interviews for individuals last year. There were some really great candidates, and there was a resolution that was put forth. Yes, it was last minute. I accept that. However, it was somebody that you and I both agreed would be a great person for this position and almost hired them for that position. It was tough. We could have went either way, right? So when I asked you about that, I said, is this something you would support still? Or, you know, you're allowed to change your mind, but I'm just wondering where this individual comes from. I don't know who he is, but we have somebody who we did interview already who was very, very well qualified, and it's not even consideration. So I'm just trying to understand where your thinking is on this and what changed.
Well, all I can say is it's an opportunity to bring somebody new in, and you're going to see that some familiar names with recommendations for the zoning board. So
This resolution I'm talking about.
yeah, I hear you. As I said, it's just an opportunity to give somebody new an opportunity to serve.
And there was no letter given to us at the town board, of a letter of interest or a resume on this individual.
I understand.
Threw at a wall and said, let's hope this sticks. Or someone we know, someone you know, maybe. Okay, I guess that answers my question. I'd like to table this.
I'll second it.
We have a table from Councilmember Thompson, second by Councilmember Bukowski. Resolution 2026-16, sponsored by Supervisor Nowak, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. The term of Justin Young of the Town of Cheektowaga Zoning Board of Appeals expires on December 31st, 2025. Robert Brandon of Cheektowaga, New York, being and hereby is appointed to the Town of Cheektowaga Zoning Board of Appeals effective January 1st, 2026, with said term to expire on December 31st, 2030.
Question for this one, where this came from.
The next two are both related to the zoning board. I've watched zoning board meetings this year, and I have some concerns about how they've been run. There's been a lot of good that's happened there, but I feel very strongly we need to change the direction in terms of the chairmanship of that board. Bob Brandon is formerly the chair of the zoning board, and he's my recommendation to rejoin that board and become the chair of that once again. And I'm going to hold my commentary further on that because there are issues that have led me to recommending this name, and this name's my recommendation. So that's all I've got to say on it.
Yeah, this one I could speak on right here. I was at the last, well, it wasn't the last zoning board meeting, but it was one of the last two. I was at the last two zoning board meetings. It was a dumpster fire, and that's putting it lightly. So if you get a chance to watch it, go back and watch it, please. My recommendation is Bob Brandon for this because he was a prior chair to that zoning board, for the zoning board of appeals, and he knows how it operates and everything. Offline, I'll be more than welcome to share with you exactly what my observations were. If I mention it up here, it may jam us up as a town board, but at the end of the day, it was not good.
Oh,
This is no disrespect to Mr. Brandon, because I know him too. But again, there was no letter of interest, no resume, and we weren't informed of this.
or of
And
the
that- and it-
dismay that,
Right.
And
um,
I understand your points and agree with you on your points and say, hey, we never received anything. But my view on, like I just said about the boards and stuff, whatever you guys throw names on, I'm game for it. But this is why I'm supporting Bob Brandon. That's the only reason.
discuss this further, especially if there are concerns.
Right.
So I'd like to discuss this a little bit more, if I could. Make a motion to table.
I'll table it with you.
We have a motion to table the resolution by Councilmember Thompson, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. Resolution 2026-18, sponsored by 2026-17, sponsored by Supervisor Noack, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. Jane Warchuk resigned as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals effective December 31st, 2025. Linda Hammer of DePune, New York, being hereby is appointed to the position of member of the Zoning Board of Appeals effective January 1st, 2026, and terminating on December 31st, 2027.
Question. This is much like the previous resolution. I want to see an improvement in the practice, experience, expertise of the zoning board. We have a member who tendered a letter of resignation. I did forward that. I did inform the board of that resignation. And I have a recommendation here. I will make a motion to table this if there's a second in order to discuss these
I'll
first.
second.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Okay, it's regarding this. Just to expedite, since these are tabled and we've discussed that we want to interview and post, can we go ahead and interview, post these last three?
I have no objection to that.
In reality, you probably should have just pulled them, but they'll fall off the table. We'll leave them on the table for the next meeting or pull them from there. But in order to post them, hold interviews, all that good stuff, it's going to be a couple meetings, so it would just fall off. Yes.
We have Resolution 17 has been tabled. We are moving on to Resolution 2026-18, sponsored by Supervisor Noack, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. Pursuant to New York State Highway Law, Section 140, Paragraph 19, the Highway Superintendent has the authority to employ an engineer subject to approval of the Town Board. Principal Engineer Assistant with the Town of Cheektowaga Supervisory Unit, currently within the Engineering Department, shall serve as the Highway Department Engineer with no additional compensation at the discretion of the Highway Superintendent.
Right, on this item, this is something that's come before the board in 2025. The goal here is to get the highway department engineering expertise consultation at a affordable cost to the town. This is merely memorializing a practice that took place for many years before the last year or two. So that's all this is about. All right. I'd like to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And carries.
Resolution 18 is carried. Resolution 2026-20, sponsored by Supervisor Noack, seconded by Councilmember Elderkin. The following listed hourly rate for the individual being hereby is established as of January 1st, 2026. Marianne Nowacki as a cleaner laborer for $20 an hour.
Sorry, okay. Oh, my mistake. All right, I was misreading. On the question. I'm having a real one, huh? Dad? Anyone on the question?
My question is how this came about. Where does she work? Did she ask for a raise or she's leaving, or just wondering why just this one person?
Also, in our budget, we agreed that part-timers across the board will get 50 cents. And where is this coming now up? What's her current rate now? And a cleaner?
Marianne's in the sewer department. I believe her current rate now is $19. But the discussion with the head of the sewer department, we talked about how this wage adjustment will result in the net savings for the department and how he was going to structure things in 2026. So even though the hourly is going up a little bit, the way things are working out, the department is going to experience a net savings.
Is she working less hours, or is she the only cleaner?
The only cleaner that I'm aware of, yes.
So you have a part-timer they're looking to give her a dollar raise when we, in our budget, put part-timers at 50 cents across the board.
That's the proposal in the resolution, yes.
So resolution for 50 cents more an hour for just one person.
That's going to open up other part-timers.
Have it in front of us.
I think we should probably look at all of them.
That's right.
How's that fair?
Right.
People, I don't know how long she's been here, or to other part-timers who might have been here longer, maybe making less. I don't know that.
If I could add a couple things. So on our next meeting, I have planned for all the part-timers that need to be adjusted to be on a resolution. Lou's just much more efficient than the rest of us. So the department head for seniors, he's very on top of his game, and he was ahead of the curve on this. And so he just did this. It was in the budget, and it's just, it is what it is. So if you want to table it or leave it till the next meeting, that's fine too. But I mean, it's just, that's my intention for the next meeting.
Okay, well, in light of that, I'd like to table it.
Motion to table?
Second.
Resolution is tabled by Councilmember Bukowski, seconded by Councilmember Thompson. That is the end of our resolution items tonight.
That we have public comment period. Okay, we're back to public comment period. It's an opportunity for residents to comment on matters involving the town of Cheektowaga. Each speaker shall speak only once. Each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. We'll give everybody a moment to sign up. Yep. All right, our first speaker this evening is Dan Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I no longer live in the town of Cheektowaga, but I have a deep connection to this community. I still own a house here, and I wanted to return to my old town tonight to obviously celebrate the swearing in of new council members, but also to recognize, and I would like to, if I may, Mr. Supervisor, address my remarks to our newest council member, Stephen Nowicki, in recognition of the seat he now occupies. Council member, you hold the seat that was once occupied by Jerry Kaminsky. Jerry was a titan of Cheektowaga, a mentor to countless young people as they came of age in life, in politics, and in business, and in government, myself included. He was a friend and a guiding presence. He had an unmitigated and unmatched knowledge of Cheektowaga. He was an institution himself. On contracts, regulations, infrastructure, and his business background, he built Kaminsky and Sons from the ground up, from scratch. His father ran a junkyard. With nothing but a small loan from the bank, him and his wife Kathy built Kaminsky and Sons, now arguably the largest trucking firm in Western New York. His sons Jerry Jr., and Jamie still run the business today. He did not need politics. He did not need to be a council member. He did not need any of the aggravation that came with it in his life. And that made Jerry Kaminsky a public servant in the truest form. Jerry, despite living a privileged life now, never forgot the working class roots he came from. I would see it in action. Overlooked neighborhoods, residents who felt left behind, the most down-to-earth millionaire that you'd ever meet. Anybody who helped him came to him with a problem, he'd be first to help. He was willing to fight bureaucracy and inertia, and he believed that government must work for everybody. It is inherent in me personally to be a Blue Dog Democrat. And Jerry was also very much a Blue Dog Democrat. In the tradition of JFK and John Glenn, today personified by leaders like Jared Golden and Sanford Bishop. Not ideological, but not a spineless moderate either. Focused on results, competence, practical governance, public safety, and a shared political philosophy with what makes Democrats truly what they were and what they were built on, from the new frontier to the Great Society and onward towards today, with moderate Democratic leadership, but moderate leadership that is rooted in action. But I want to remember more, Steve, and make the point to you and emphasize to you that Jerry was more than a political father or a political ally, a Democrat and a council member and a colleague of all of yours. Jerry Kaminsky was more of a father to me than my own father. I can say that unashamed and unabashedly, and he'd grumble at me for being sentimental, and I tell him to deal with it. He always returned calls, long conversations with myself, and I know all of you, about politics, life, business, responsibility, guidance through young adulthood, becoming a father myself despite not having one. There were tough times for me. There were things I was able to confide in Jerry that I knew he would never tell anybody else when I went through my own period of difficulties. And the one thing he always said to me was, Dan, you're not going anywhere. Even when I had nothing to offer Jerry was always there for me. He was an unconditional supporter in my own life, and I know to many others too. You know, he had a gruff sense of humor. I would always joke with him and say whenever I would see him, or especially got to speak with him in public about him, I would say, Jerry, I have a question about the Battle of Gettysburg. I know you fought in it. And he would turn around and say to me, you know, Dan, someday it's just going to be me and you and there's no women in the room. And I would say, I think that's an idle threat, Jerry. And he would say, watch. And of course, we'd all laugh about it afterwards. It was all in good fun. He'd joke around and tease me back. But the point is
sorry,
that
Dan, does this board wish to extend an extra minute?
I just like, thank you, Councilor. I just would like to wrap up, Steve, though, and not get windy. But I want you to recognize as somebody who was a friend of Jerry Kaminsky, who I consider myself in many ways, even though not related, a son to Jerry Kaminsky. You are the caretaker now of his legacy in this town. He was not somebody to have a big ego or see himself as an institution. That, for all the reason, means that it was. You're inheriting that seat. I hope you understand what that means to everybody who watched, and I know he would be thrilled. His family was thrilled about your election. I was thrilled, his unofficial family, everyone around him, and I know you would be thrilled too. And I would also like to say that Councilmember Lewis's election would bring him immense pride. I'm Indigenous, and the one thing Jerry never forgot and would often come up in our conversations is that the name Cheektowaga comes from the Seneca word Jeketawaga, which means land of the crabapple trees. Jerry believed in a Cheektowaga for all, regardless of your race, whether you were Black, white, Asian, Latino, Arab American, polka dotted. Jerry did not care, whatever your religion, your gender. Jerry believed in the kind of efficient and practical, but most importantly, effective government that the town residents of this town deserve. And I miss him every single day. Every single day. Sometimes I pick up the phone and I want to call him. I meant to give these remarks after he died, but I physically just wasn't able to do it. And I'm glad I waited. And I'm glad I waited because, Steve, you were sitting on the shoulders of a giant. You were walking in big footsteps, and I know you know what that responsibility means. And I wish you the very, very best in everything that you do, and I'm so proud to see it, and I know Jerry would be too. And to the rest of you on this board, Monica, Barb, Vern, Brian, Tiffany, Brian, you all knew Jerry, served with him in some capacity, and I would like to hope you carry on his spirit. And in the words that are on the Lincoln Memorial, enshrined in the hearts, to paraphrase the words in the Lincoln Memorial about someone who was very much a Lincoln in saving this town, in the hearts of the people of the town that he served, in the minutes of this meeting and in his record, may the legacy of Gerald P. Kaminsky live forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Gary Borick.
I send you all lots of emails. I don't expect you to respond to them, okay? I understand. I mean, I send emails that are informational stuff. If I want a response, I usually ask, say, could you get back to me? But don't feel ever that, because I send you an email, I don't want 7 people sending me back a response. But I'll say this, every time I send an email to Jerry, he called, even when I didn't want him to. My comments at the end of the meeting here, I want to ask if it's possible to have the clerk include, repeat the laws when there's a proposal, because otherwise, like you look at the agenda, you say, oh, we're having a public hearing on this law. Where's the law? Well, it was put in the agenda when it was first there, but it's not repeated. So even if she's not going to put it back in, at least put a reference to where it is so people can find it. Because otherwise they have a notice of public hearing and they look at the agenda, now they got to go search looking for the law. I think we should move that up. Also on those waivers, Brian, and Vern, I'm going to disagree with you. I think the supervisor has to manage the meetings at some point, and if he gets something in that just is not an emergency, he ought to be able to say no, which is not the proper place for it now. But is there some way, Brian, that you can post anything that you say no to so that members of the public can see your decision not to put something on the agenda? I think that would be helpful for the public to know. Last thing is I did a lot of research on it, couldn't find a solution. I was going to recommend one, but I can't find one. But what is your do you have any internal rules on absences? I mean, we just went through 2 months of someone who thumbed their nose at us on this board as taxpayers and as voters. And do you guys have, my understanding is you can't find anybody. You can't do that because you would be affecting their wages, and you can't do that. You have to do it by, referendum if you're going to change it during the year. But what's the process? Somebody at least have to tell the clerk, I'm not going to be there and here's a reason? I mean, we don't need to know the reason, the public, but it just seems someone just doesn't show up. What if 4 of you just decide not to show up anymore? What do we have? Do we have any internal?
I don't think we have a written procedure. We had past practice or a custom, and it would basically be notify the clerk that I wouldn't be in attendance. You know, at times it would be notifying the town supervisor, hey, I'm not going to make this meeting. And I think it's the way it's practiced in my time as supervisor. Some of both has happened where the clerk has been notified in certain instances. I know council members have notified me, hey, I can't make the meeting tonight. But yeah, in this particular case, on the town board, we don't have anything in terms of when a town board member is absent, nothing in writing to say who needs to be notified.
Because I was going to say, it'd be nice if at least the clerk would announce excuse received. Not tell us why, just excuse received. And even if it's later, say something comes up and somebody can't, come to the next meeting. Past absence last week, excuse received. That's all. Just so the members of the public know that you are communicating with the supervisor or the clerk. Because we just went through that horrible experience.
Can we add another minute on this? You guys all good? Okay. Gary, kind of going to your point on this. Hopefully that was just a one-time situation. As I look up at this board, I don't think anybody up here would do that. Everybody who was here at that last meeting, I don't think any one of them would have done the same thing. It shows a person's character and their lack of respect for their colleagues to include within the same party too. So it's a big middle finger to everybody that was up here, to the residents, all that stuff. And it shows that person's true character. And I don't see that happening from anybody up here, and hopefully future boards as well. But I definitely get your point. But unfortunately, when there's no consequences to go with it, we could have all the regs and rules in the world.
Oh, no, but if you have to notify the clerk.
And the clerk would say excused if something was turned in. That was just blatant, no call, no shows, absent, is what we experienced and witnessed. But hopefully it's no more.
Okay, thank you. Happy New Year, everybody.
Mr. Bork, I will clarify for you that I have always said that they are excused if they have called or stated that they will not be at the meeting. They have been absent, and who you're referring to, Councilmember Jazinski, has never notified anybody that I'm aware of that he would not be at the meetings. That's why he was absent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dawn Filipski.
Okay, I just had a couple questions about finances. Now, I know at the end of last year that the budget was online. I don't believe it's still there. And can that be put up, so that regular
I'm sorry,
people
Dawn, you
could
mean
see
the
it?
detailed budget?
I
the
think
budget prep
that's-
report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that one. Can that go up online so we can see from, week to week, month to month? I'd hate to keep putting in a request to have Brian get me out whatever the budget thing is there. I could do that, but I think it'd be beneficial for the entire town to see, okay, this is where we start with, this is what we've spent, this is how much we have left.
I think we could, I have to talk with Brian about how long it takes to run a report. It doesn't take too long from what I assume. I think it's something we can get up on a regular basis. I don't want to say whether it's going to be daily or weekly, but we can get it up regularly.
Regularly, yes, that would be greatly appreciated if possible, and provide a lot of transparency for those of us who are sitting out in the cheap seats.
So I would say getting through maybe the first 2 months of the year, then a good version of it up, and then regular updates after that. I don't know if monthly is too frequently. I would say, doing it in July is not often enough, but we can find a way to get there.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Next speaker is Sandy Prisblack.
Hi, it's me again. Now I want to speak on a couple different items. I don't know the gentleman that was going to be appointed to the planning board, so I can't really speak on him. But I do know Robert Brandon and I do know Linda Hammer. And I don't know why all of a sudden we have to have interviews for people. I mean, Robert Brandon was on the planning board. He was chair of it. There's your resume. You shouldn't need to interview someone who served on the board and did an excellent job on it. I think that what you said is disingenuous, because I don't recall when the Republicans put up people to be on these boards to be voted on, there being any kind of a discussion, well, we should interview them. You just passed it. You just passed who you wanted.
If I can respond to that just for a quick moment. So the gentleman that I was referencing about the planning board, that was last year when we did have a Republican majority. That supervisor and I interviewed that person. So there were interviews, in fact, going on at that time.
Okay, but the person that was up for to be appointed tonight, is that the same person?
I'm speaking in reference to us holding no interviews during that time period for the planning board.
Okay, I wasn't speaking about the planning board appointee. I was speaking about
not holding interviews.
Not holding interviews.
Then and now we want to.
And now you want to, because people that, Robert Brandon was on the board. He has a resume. Linda Hammer was a council member for 6 years, was it? 8 years? I don't know. I don't remember, but I think it was 2 terms. She has experience with zoning. There's your resume. I think that tabling those 2 items is disingenuous, is what I'm saying. And it's not fair. Thank you.
Our final speaker this evening is Mark Crystal.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year, and welcome to the new board members. For the record, my name is Mark Crystal, and I am the current president of the Town of Cheektowaga Supervisory Unit, otherwise known as the TCSU. I just wanted to comment on the resolution regarding the rescinding of the deputy highway superintendent, and just to clarify the timeline so everyone understands exactly what happened. So on the 1st of January of 24 is when the position became open. Our contract expired at the end of 24. So we, the TCSU, negotiated in good faith to assist the town in the issues of not having that very important position filled. We negotiated with the board in good faith to assume those duties, and we were going to iron that thing out. The board chose not to accept that proposal from us, okay? And then in the beginning of 25, we had to file a PERB charge against the town to continue our negotiation process, of which, once again, through that process, we, a second time, offered to reestablish that offer, and the board, a second time, said no. So I wanted to be clear for the record that, again, the TCSU did offer, it was a board that said no. And highway, as we know, is a very unique position because it has its own set of rules in New York state law. It has a leader in the elected official, which is very different than any other department. So it's not like you can just say, hey, Rick's off, a foreman can take over. It's not that simple. It's not that easy. That's why there needs to be discussions about that. And lastly, I just wanted to make it clear that everyone knows that it is not the TCSU driving this. We had nothing to do with this resolution being submitted. There was no conversations to myself or any one of my executive members about this. We're, again, willing to talk with the board in this town to try to hopefully rectify some of these issues, but I just wanted it to be clear on the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you. On our agenda, we do not have time for council member comments, but I figure we can all agree to allow each member of the board to take a moment to speak. I'll start with supervisor comments and just wish everybody a happy new year and pass it over to Councilman Pilarski.
Happy New Year. Welcome new board members. Welcome old board members. Let's get this year going and let's get on a good foot in 2 weeks.
Say Happy New Year to everyone, and it's a privilege and honor to sit here today, and I look forward to continue on with service work for our wonderful residents of Cheektowaga.
Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you very much for putting me in this position. I came here looking to get to work and do my job. It's nice to have the opportunity to finally sit in this seat and start making some things happen. I love seeing that there's people already coming to the board with our change and disposition here, and looking to see their version of the world implemented. And I hope anyone who wants to see change in the town, come to the board, voice your opinion, send us emails, text calls, what have you. I came here looking to want to work, and now the opportunity's here. So please let us know, and I'll do everything I can for the town. Thank you.
Thompson.
Happy New Year to everyone as well. Welcome to new board members, old board members as well, and supervisor. Just want to say that, there's going to be a lot of disagreements up here, and, it may seem like, oh, an obstructionist, no this, no that, and, that's okay. We're going to have disagreements, and I welcome the debate and to have those discussions. I'll always stay after a meeting, before, whatever it may be, to have those discussions. I don't care if you don't like me or, whatever your views are. My job is to represent the entire town of Cheektowaga and what I feel may be best. That's what I was elected to do. And it's not going to be the perfect or, the favorite decision by everybody. And I'm okay with that. I will continue to speak out on things that I don't think are right. And I'm, again, open to having those discussions. And I think we will have some productive discussions up here. I honestly do look forward to it. So that's all I got for now. Thank you.
Want to wish everybody a happy new year. And again, literally welcome aboard to the new town board members. And I just want to say something that I said a few months back, that it doesn't matter what letter is after our name, okay? Republican, Democrat, we were all elected. And my mission is to work together for the people, for the taxpayers. And what I've learned in the last 2 years is go with your gut feeling. What you think is right and what you think is the best is what you need to do. And I look forward to working with everybody, and open communication is going to be key. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you. I'm privileged to sit up here, and thank you to the other new board members and the existing board members. I too think this could be very productive meetings. We're going to disagree, and just keep that communication respectful.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss matters leading to the employment and or discipline of particular persons. Do I have a second? Second from Councilmember Bukowski. All in favor?
Aye.
With no action to follow. Any opposed? All right, we